So there's this weird thing I've noticed about myself. The more I actually force myself to do uncomfortable stuff, the better I actually end up feeling. This became pretty obvious to me when I started going back to the gym after taking a long break from it. Every single time, I'd be dreading it before I even left my house, like actively trying to convince myself I could just skip today and go tomorrow instead. But on the days I pushed through that and went anyway, the rest of my day just hits different. I had more energy, I was in a better mood, I actually wanted to get stuff done instead of just sitting around doing nothing. And on the days I gave in and skipped, thinking I was taking the easy option, I just feel kind of empty and unmotivated for the rest of the day, even though skipping was supposed to be the comfortable choice. That pattern kept repeating over and over, and it made me actually want to figure out why. Why does doing the harder thing on purpose end up making you feel better, while taking the easy route ends up making you feel worse? So that's what I am going to talk about in this video. Pretty much everything you do in a day falls into one of two buckets: stuff that's inside your comfort zone and stuff that's outside it. The inside stuff is whatever's basically automatic for you. No hesitation, no internal debate. You just do it without even thinking twice. Brushing your teeth, driving somewhere you've driven 100 times before, scrolling your phone, texting people you already know well, that kind of thing. None of that requires any effort to convince yourself to do. It just happens. Then there's the outside stuff, and this is where your brain actually starts putting up a fight before you've even started doing anything. Same thing as that gym example. There's this resistance that shows up way before you've even left the house. This pull telling you to just stay where you are, stay comfortable, and skip it today. And it's not just physical stuff either. It's things like having a hard conversation you've been avoiding, starting a project you keep putting off, even just showing up somewhere new where you don't know anybody. All of that gets filed under the same category in your brain. And here's the part people don't really think about enough. The amount of resistance you feel isn't really about how objectively hard the thing actually is. It's just about how your brain has already decided to categorize it a long time ago. Something can be genuinely simple to do physically, barely take any effort at all. But if your brain filed it under outside the comfort zone at some point, you're still going to feel that same resistance every single time you go to do it, regardless of how easy it actually is. Your brain's not really measuring difficulty accurately here. It's just running off whatever label it already stuck on that specific activity a while back. Now here's where it gets interesting, because you think whatever's outside your comfort zone must automatically be good for you, and whatever's inside it must be fine to just stick with. But that's not actually true at all. There's no real connection between how comfortable something feels and whether it's actually good for your life. Take running, for example. That's outside a lot of people's comfort zone. It's physically demanding. It makes you tired, sore, out of breath. But it's genuinely good for you. Your energy improves, your mood improves, your whole outlook gets better the more you actually do it. Now take something like just walking. That's usually inside most people's comfort zone. It's easy, it's not intimidating at all. Doesn't mean it's bad for you either. Walking's still fine, still healthy, just less resistance attached to it. So already you can see there's no clean pattern here. And on the flip side, just because something's outside your comfort zone doesn't automatically mean it's beneficial either. Doing something reckless or flat out dangerous is also outside your comfort zone, but obviously that's not good for you just because it's uncomfortable. So the whole idea that comfort zone equals bad and discomfort equals good is honestly kind of a lazy way to look at it. Your comfort zone was never actually designed to tell you what's good or bad for your life in the first place. All it's really doing is trying to keep you inside whatever boundary it already drew. It doesn't actually care if that boundary lines up with what's genuinely good for you or not. And here is another important thing to actually understand. Your comfort zone doesn't just sit there staying the same size. It actually shrinks on you if you don't push against it every once in a while. Like if you go too long without stepping outside of it at all, it doesn't stay the same. It actually closes in, and the stuff that used to feel manageable starts feeling way harder than it should. I've experienced this myself with the whole gym thing. There was a time when I skipped it for like 2 straight weeks. Told myself I'd get back into it eventually. No big deal. But the longer I sat out, the harder it actually got to go back. It wasn't like the gym itself changed. It was still the same routine I used to do without thinking twice about it. But my comfort zone had shrunk that whole time I wasn't pushing against it. So now something that used to feel normal felt like this massive wall I had to get over just to walk through the door again. Same thing happens with way smaller stuff too. Like if you spend a few days just laying around, doing nothing, barely leaving your bed, barely doing anything that takes effort, you start noticing even small tasks start feeling like a lot. Replying to a text feels like effort. Doing one basic task around the house feels like way more than it should. And that's just your comfort zone shrinking in real time because you gave it zero resistance to work against. And I think that's what happens to a lot of introverts too. The less you put yourself in social situations, the smaller that part of your comfort zone gets. So even something small like starting a conversation or being around a group of people starts feeling way harder than it actually is. Not because it's genuinely that hard, but because you stopped giving yourself any practice with it. So if you don't intentionally step outside it every so often, it's not going to just stay the same. It's actually going to keep getting smaller and harder to escape the longer you leave it alone. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, if the comfort zone isn't actually a reliable way to tell what's good or bad for me, then what am I actually supposed to base my decisions on? I think the better approach is making decisions based on your actual values instead of based on how comfortable or uncomfortable something feels. What I mean by that is figure out what kind of person you actually want to become, what traits you actually want to have, what skills you actually want to build, and then let those things guide what you do instead of just asking yourself, does this feel easy or does this feel hard every time you're deciding on something? Because if you're just going off comfort, you're always going to default to whatever requires the least effort, even if that thing does nothing for you long term. So for me personally, if I actually value being someone who's disciplined, consistent, someone who's actually building something with his time, then going to the gym isn't really a question of whether it's comfortable or not anymore. It's just something I do because it lines up with the person I actually want to be. The discomfort's still there. I'm not saying it magically disappears, but it stops being the deciding factor. It's just background noise at that point. It doesn't get a vote in whether I actually do the thing or not. Once you actually start making decisions based on your values instead of based on comfort, and you keep doing that consistently, your comfort zone actually starts expanding to catch up with you. Stuff that used to feel like a huge wall in front of you starts feeling normal after enough reps. Going to the gym used to feel like this massive thing I had to talk myself into, and now it's just part of my week. It doesn't even register as something hard anymore. So when I actually look back at that whole gym example from the start of this video, I don't think the reason I felt so good was just because it was uncomfortable. I think it was that I was living in a way that lined up with who I actually wanted to be, and I just stopped letting discomfort have a say in that decision. And I think that's really the whole point here. It was never really about chasing discomfort just for the sake of being uncomfortable. It's about realizing discomfort was never actually a good enough reason to avoid doing something in the first place. Once you stop letting it have a vote in your decisions, you start realizing how much more you're actually capable of, way more than your comfort zone was ever letting you believe.